Hello dear students, today we are going to study next part of organic purification of organic compound is chromatography. So chromatography is a modern technique used for separation and identification of organic compounds in a mixture. So earlier this technique was used to separate the components of a natural origin on the basis of their color, because chromatography, chromo means color. So but nowadays this technique is used to separate all different types of organic compounds irrespective of their colors. So this is chromatography. Here we can define it as chromatography is a physical method of separation in which components to be separated or distributed between two phases. So here one phase is stationary phase and another phase is mobile phase or moving phase. So here this technique involves these two phases on the basis of difference in the adsorption capacity of components of a mixture. On stationary phase from moving phase, the components can be separated as different bands. So the common chromatographic method is liquid solid chromatography. Here the stationary phase is always a solid and moving phase is a liquid. Usually in thin layer chromatography we use solid and liquid both as a stationary phase. So depending upon their material used in the solid phase, we can classify the chromatographic techniques like this here. One first technique is column chromatography or adsorption chromatography. Here solid phase is stationary phase is solid and mobile phase is liquid. And second one, partition chromatography. Here stationary phase is liquid, mobile phase is also liquid. In chromatography both the stationary and mobile phase are liquid only. And in thin layer chromatography, this is the exceptional case. Here stationary phase solid and liquid both used as a stationary phase, and liquid is used as mobile phase. And GLC and GSC, gas liquid chromatography and gas solid chromatography. Here GLC stationary phase is liquid and in GSC stationary phase is solid, and both sides use gas as a mobile phase. And last one is ion exchange chromatography. Here stationary phase is solid and mobile phase as liquid. So these are the general chromatographic techniques, but in this unit we are going to study these three chromatographic techniques. So that first one is thin layer chromatography. So this is nothing but TLC. This is one of the simplest, fast, easy and least expensive of several chromatographic techniques. So this is used in qualitative and quantitative both analysis to separate organic compounds and to test the purity of compounds. So we can define thin layer chromatography as method of separation or identification of a mixture of components into individual components by using finally divided adsorbed solid or liquid spread. So this over a glass plate. This is nothing but stationary phase and liquid as a mobile phase. So mobile phase is a liquid one. This is also called as developing solvent. And here stationary phase, it is made by a plate or a strip coated with the form of silica gel, or we can also use alumina. So a thin layer of adsorbent like silica gel or alumina which is coated on a flat glass plate. So here analysis is performed on a flat surface under atmospheric pressure and room temperature. So these are the conditions for TLC. So how we read the TLC? So this is TLC plate. The silica or alumina gel are coated on a glass strip. So here a small spot of a solution, this is a spot of a solution which is containing a sample, which is applied on the plate about 1 centimeter from the base. About 1 centimeter from the base, the plate is then dipped in a suitable solvent. Suitable solvent means mobile phase. This entire plate is dipped in a suitable solvent means mobile phase, like ethanol, water, hexane. Most of the time used volatile components. So because of this volatile solvent, you should place this entire strip in a closed container, in a closed container, and the solvent moves up. Here the solvent, the mobile phase starts to move up and meets the sample here, and sample mixture, which is dissolved and carried out by the solvent. This sample is carried out by the mobile phase. So different compounds in the sample mixture, there are different components present in a sample mixture, all are traveled at a different rate. All the samples are starts to travel different rates because difference in solubility and affinity towards the stationary phase. Due to this difference in the movement rate, different bands are obtained. So these are different bands. So different bands are obtained. Selection of a solvent is very important in TLC, depending upon the nature of the compounds to be separated in the given sample. So most of the time this technique is used to detect the pesticides or insecticides in food, separate the pigments of plants, etc. So this is about TLC. And RF is, this is nothing but retention factor. How we calculate this factor? By retention factor. Here this is nothing but D solute by D solvent. D solute means the ratio of distance traveled by the solute. Here our solute means sample mixture. This sample mixture is traveled, that is that difference. Suppose for example this is one component, so this is the distance traveled by the solute to the distance traveled by the solvent. Distance traveled by the solvent means this is nothing but our mobile phase. So ratio of these two, we will get retention factor. So this is nothing but thin layer chromatography.